Republican Congressman from Florida, Michael Waltz. Good to have you here. You have so much expertise in the Middle East, on the Foreign Policy Committee, all of these things. Let's get your big picture take on what do you think is happening.
Well, bottom line is the maximum pressure campaign against the Iranian economy is working. The economy is experiencing ridiculously high amounts of inflation. The amount of oil that Iran is exporting, now that the president has refused to extend waivers, has gone from about 2.5 million barrels per day down to less than 200,000.
So they're not getting any money into
So they're not getting any money, any revenue in, and taking a play out of their playbook is they cause a crisis elsewhere. It diverts their own populace, where you're seeing daily labor strikes, where you're seeing a lot of unrest. It diverts the populace. It causes a crisis somewhere else. The Iranians know that they cannot take us on ship to ship, tank to tank. So what they do is they try to have these asymmetric type attacks. We saw them moving in that direction about a month ago to attack our forces in Iraq, to attack our forces in Syria, and to potentially attack our shipping. We moved the carrier in. We moved strategic bombers in. What I think is important that this administration is doing is saying, you know what, Iran, we're not going to attack your proxies. We're not going to hold Hezbollah responsible. We're going to hold you, the regime, responsible. And that is a very different message.
To that point, let me ask you about the decision to release so quickly this video evidence. Because that's a little bit unusual, but it's pretty persuasive.
Well, it is. It exposes how we got the video in terms of what type of collection assets we have. But I think it's incredibly persuasive on the world stage. And that is where this is going to be decided. So the question is, what next? And I'll take us back to the 1980s when Iran did this before, when they attacked global shipping in the Straits of Hormuz, and President Reagan he ordered the Navy to begin escorting the shipping. We actually ended up sinking several Iranian ships, and eventually they backed down.
It's a good reminder about that. President Trump was asked about the Strait of Hormuz and the possibility of the Iranians trying to close it. Listen to what he said.
They're not going to be closing it. It's not going to be, if it's closed, it's not going to be closed for long. And they know it. And they've been told in very strong terms. And we want to get them back to the table if they want to go back. I'm ready when they are.
Okay, so the president keeps saying that he's willing to talk. Do they deserve to be spoken to?
Well, where the president, I think, needs to be consistent and clear is that the long-term strategic objective here is to drive Iran back to the table. When they came to the table for the Iran deal several years ago, it was because the sanctions were working, very effective. The regime became desperate, and they came to the table for a deal. So as long as we're in a position of strength and leverage, yes, I think that's what we should do. But I hope the president gives this some more time to allow these sanctions to truly take hold and get us to a position of advantage. The problem with time is heading into 2020 and whether the Iranians try to wait him out and hope a Democrat's in charge that will then enter into a bad deal.
Let me also ask you about the men that are being held. Does it remind you of when they took, remember the Americans?
American sailors.
The language was almost directly the same.
That's right. Well, not only those sailors and the folks that they're holding now, they're still holding Americans hostage. Right now, as we speak, chained to a prison in the Evin prison system. That is a UN human rights worker. That's a Princeton professor. There are a number of hostages the Iranians are holding right now that are American citizens. And and that should be a precondition before entering any talks.
Absolutely. All right.